Today we're going to discuss how much I paid for a quasi Xtreme Recon package on my 4xe. I will note that I have a full review on the 4xe and on a Willys Wrangler if you guys are interested in just a review of the Wrangler versus me discussing these 35-inch tires. But before I get into the video, all that I'll ask is that if you guys enjoy it, you throw it a like, and if you want to see more content like this as well as help make content like this possible, that you subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so a vast majority of Jeep owners want to run a larger tire than what you get from the factory on their Wranglers, and whether that's because of the added capability or just for a more aggressive look, it's a super common thing, and I think Wranglers are one of the most regularly modified vehicles you see out on the road. Now, bigger tires have their pros and cons again, some added capability, but also they can hinder, well, they can definitely hinder performance, fuel economy, braking, as well as actual off-road capability if you don't have a proper lift for the size of tire you're running. For instance, if you stuff a 37-inch tire on a stock Rubicon, you're likely going to actually limit your vehicle's capability because you just won't have the room for the proper articulation and the stuff the vehicle can actually accomplish. Now, I won't get into the whole debate between a mud terrain, all-terrain, or even a hybrid tire. If it was really up to me, I mean, a hybrid tire is pretty perfect, and the main ones that come to mind are the Nitto Ridge Grappler and the Toyota Open Country RT. They're aggressive looking, especially the Nitto, and again, they're hybrids. The downsides of them and the reasons I didn't get them, which we'll get into even more later in the video and talk about what I did pick. One was price and the other was weight. Weight actually being the even larger factor because unsprung weight is obviously a real thing, and I don't plan or didn't end up re-gearing my 4xe, which is something you really can't do very easily on the 4xe anyway. So I was like, I don't want to make things any more complicated with any more added weight than I need to. Now, the most avid Jeep fans are aware of the Xtreme Recon package, which Jeep introduced last model year for 2021 to compete with the new Ford Bronco's Sasquatch package. So the Xtreme Recon package mainly consists of a set of 35-inch KO2 tires. They're technically 315/70s, which is the metric size of a 35, effectively, but in a load range C instead of a load range E, I believe. And on top of that, it comes with a slight kind of lift. It's supposed to be a 2-inch lift. They do sit higher, but it's not the Mopar 2-inch lift, so it's more of like a 1.5-inch different shock or spring setup to give you that little bit of boost. And lastly, they come with a re-geared axle. I think it's a 456 instead of a 410, which is what the standard Rubicon comes with. If you get a Willys or a 392, that both are offered also with the Xtreme Recon pack, you're going from, I think, a 373 or a 3, even I think it's like a 340 something, 343 on a Willys, up to a 456. So that's an even bigger improvement than it is on a standard Rubicon. But I digress, and before I blab on way too much, let me talk about my particular setup. So, since the Xtreme Recon package does give you a little bit of added functionality and capability, but really and ultimately gives your Wrangler a much more aggressive look. I'll put in some pictures here of a standard Willys compared to an Xtreme Recon. Same with even a 392 or a regular Rubicon. It makes a big difference. I wanted that look, and obviously I wanted the slight added capability, but more importantly, and I'm not gonna lie, obviously I'm not all about form over function, which we'll get into again, but I did want that look and that form to be a bit more aggressive, and just that more aggressive Jeep look that we so often see on the road. So I wanted to do all of that without breaking the bank, which is why this is all about how much I paid. And what I did was I found a really sweet deal on a set of 315/70 17 KO2s, which are the same, effectively the same tires you'd find on that Xtreme Recon pack. Again, the metric 35-inch size KO2, the same tire I previously had, again, just in about 1.5 inch, 2-inch bigger size. And I got a really sweet deal as well on a pair or a set of 5 Method 305s. Again, a super common wheel, not only on Wranglers, but just on a lot of off-road vehicles and trucks. So knowing that so many people trust that wheel and run it, as well as the fact that I got, again, an amazing deal on them, just made the choice a no-brainer for me. I also think they have a pretty simple yet aggressive look to them, kind of a somewhat off-road military kind of look, but pared down and not super over the top. I do like some of the Black Rhino, really military-inspired wheels, but they're a bit heavier, a little too aggressive of an offset, and just they weren't this crazy of a good deal. So I should say now that as of the date of recording, Jeep has yet to offer the Xtreme Recon package on the 4xe, and even if they offered it, I already have this vehicle. So I had no choice but to go aftermarket. Again, I didn't want to break the bank. And because the Xtreme Recon package only costs about 4,000 bucks, which is a tremendous value with how expensive tires alone are in this current crazy shortage market, I set out to find a crazy deal. So the KO2s were an easy choice because they're light. They're the same tire I was already running and I already enjoyed, but again, just wider and taller in this case, going from about an 11.5 inch width to 12.5, and from about a 32 inch actual height sitting on the vehicle, mounted on the vehicle, you know, with the vehicle's weight, to now just under 34 inches. So call it about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 in added, probably more like 1.5 inches in added height, but the look is there. The wheels, I went from, I think, a +44 offset, 7.5 inch width, typical Rubicon wheel, to a 8.5 inch wide, so 1 inch wider, 0 offset. So I didn't want to go with a -12 or anything crazy without a lift, without a massive, you know, mud terrain. I wanted to keep it, you know, somewhat tucked, but get that little bit of poke. And actually, I'm surprised by how much poke there is. I think it's because the 4xe has those heavy duty axles that are wider. As you guys have been seeing all this footage of the vehicle while I've been talking nonstop, you'll see that it just completely transformed the look. I think again, I'm obviously speaking into the future here, but I think I'll put some comparison shots of the vehicle as it was and then with these wheels and tires, keeping in mind this is fully stock 4xe. There is no lift, nothing, just these wheels and tires have been added. I just also love how wide these tires are. It really enhanced the look off width alone, from the rear, from the front, dead on. The stance is better, and the width, it just is a much more proportional look. And again, I do care about design, I do care about looks, and I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't. So I wanted to fulfill my fantasies looks wise without spending too much money or without hindering the capabilities and performance, or even just MPG and handling and acceleration of this vehicle too much. So that was my main objective, and I think I was able to accomplish it. Now, I'm gonna put in some pictures here of my exact vehicle sitting next to an Xtreme Recon, and you'll see that the Xtreme Recon does happen to sit the slightest bit higher, especially in the rear, and I'll probably try to punch in here so you guys can see that those rear fenders do sit a bit higher than mine, maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch, but the 4xe Rubicon does also sit a bit higher than your traditional Rubicon. So I think this kind of sits right in between where a standard Rubicon would sit and an Xtreme Recon would sit, so it's manageable. I don't think I'm gonna deal with too much rub or any issues. Stock, I didn't want to go into lift kit and stuff because that's added expense that I just didn't want to currently take on. And that would have been then a 37 inch tire, which also again costs more and weighs more. So I want to keep everything very simple. I shouldn't have any issues. I don't plan to do any extreme crazy rock crawling, more just trails. So I think I'll be fine. And you can tell more or less these vehicles look pretty similar in height, just based on the pictures again. The tires are the same, the width and the size and the height and everything, but you can tell there is a little bit more offset. Obviously these being 0 offset versus the +12 offset on the Xtreme Recon, as well as these being 1/2 inch wider wheels, that I like that little bit more aggressive look than the Xtreme Recon, as well as not having those kind of weird funky flare extensions. I think the package just looks a little better. That was a pretty sweet looking Xtreme Recon though, to be fair, and it had the simulated beat lock rings paint matched to the Sarge green. It looked really cool, but I'm really happy with this package. Now, I've blabbed and blabbed and blabbed and talked so much, and I've been sitting here basking in this kind of overcast weather here, but I do want to get into the price, which is what you've all waited for and what the title of the video says, and I've kind of buried the lead on purpose, so if you've stuck around, we're gonna get into that right now. So price-wise, I was able to make this whole package come to fruition with installation. I didn't want to do it myself. I wanted to shop to mount and balance the wheels and tires and then also just throw them on at that point. And I was able to do all of this for just a hair over $2,500, everything included. And that's a killer deal in this market. You know, a lot of time I was getting a lot of quotes that were more like in the mid $3,000 range, and I wanted to keep it as low as possible. Obviously, I'm going to try to go ahead and sell my factory, my OEM wheels and tires, and I should be able to recoup a little over $1,000 for those, and that leaves my total out of pocket just a little over $1,000, and that is well worth it for this look, in my humblest of opinion. The 4xe with a more powerful drivetrain is able to handle these 35s, especially these lighter 35s, with no issues. I did gain about 10, 11, maybe 12 pounds per corner. Again, it's a bit noticeable, but not drastically so. and the powertrain is more than powerful. In fact, I'm usually in electric mode where it's only 130 horsepower, and even that is fine. When the engine kicks on, it's more than enough power at almost 400 horsepower to power this with just 410 gearing in the axle. I will say that the slight add in or slight addition in sidewall has actually made the ride just the slightest bit more comfortable, which is a pleasant surprise. But overall, the look is there. The capability I've maintained, especially with that slight added height on the 4xe. And I know this is a wildly popular model, the 4xe is what I mean. And a lot of people are doing this, throwing some 35s on there and not really messing with anything else. And actually lifting the 4xe is a whole nother complicated matter we won't get into, but I wanted to avoid the financial implications of that and some of the extra stuff that I have to do. That rabbit hole was something I was not trying to jump down. So I kept it pretty simple. I'm very happy with the look. I'm very happy with the price point I was able to accomplish this at. And overall, I think it was super worth it. So if you're considering doing this on your 4xe or even your Wrangler Rubicon or other Wrangler, definitely do it. If you can get the Xtreme Recon package, of course do it straight from the factory. If Jeep offers it on the 4xe, and if they had, I would have tacked it on and save myself even more hassle, because that is included in the MSRP of the vehicle, first of all, which is convenient price-wise, and you get everything warranted, and you get the axle with the better gearing if they offer that ever on the 4xe. That's something I would definitely consider. Otherwise, slapping on some 35s, especially some lighter ones, it's the move. In theory, I would have loved a Mopar 2-inch lift, some 37s, and I mean just a super hyper-aggressive Wrangler, but I'm very happy with this, and yeah, I think it was super cool. All I'll say is that if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. New videos are dropping every single week on Fridays. Comment down below. Let me know what content you guys want to see. I'll do my best to make it happen. As always, this is Rio. Peace out.